Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today we have a lot of Steelers news and rumors to discuss as Steelers resumed training camp practice at St. Vincent College in Latrobe this afternoon. First up on today's show, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't be worried about Kaleb Johnson after his lackluster performance, or at least lackluster production in his preseason debut versus the Jaguars last weekend. Then we'll go into Coach T's interview with the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, and he makes an interesting admission that I wanted to talk about today. Then we'll get into the Steelers Monday practice report. How did Aaron Rodgers look? How did Roman Wilson look? How did DK Metcalf look? We'll have all my notes from today's practice later in today's show, which includes Darius Slay getting an injury at practice. I'll let you guys know how serious that injury is, and we'll finish up today's show with kind of breaking down what the heck is going on with Calvin Austin III right now. Is he holding in? Is he actually injured? What is going on with the Steelers' number 2 wide receiver? We're going to be covering that later in today's show, so don't go anywhere. But before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We provide you guys free and informative Steelers content on this channel every single day. Also, we give you guys breaking news coverage every time the con artist makes a big move. We have weekly live shows, at least 2 during the week, and then 1 for a Steelers watch party for every single Steelers game this year. And it's all 100% free. Guys, we are right on the door of 89,000 subscribers right now, so make sure you click that subscribe button right now and help us get to that next grand. Okay, so now let's get into our first story today, which is that a lot of people on Steelers Twitter and elsewhere are panicking that Kaleb Johnson sucks and that he's terrible and that he looked awful in the preseason debut versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And guys, I just really couldn't disagree with this more. Now, when you look at the stat sheet, okay, maybe it doesn't look fantastic. 8 carries for only 20 yards, 1 catch for 6 yards, and he had a drop as well. So people are looking at that stat line, and they were expecting big things out of his preseason debut, and they're a little bit underwhelmed by that. And, you know, I would just want to say this to you guys right now. I think Kaleb looked fine, and I think he's going to be fine out there, guys, heading into the regular season. Okay, like, it's preseason, first of all. Second of all, the backup offensive line was out there for most of his carries, and I think that he did a good job lowering the shoulder. And you know, you look at the production in that game, he had 20 total yards of rushing in that football game, but he had 25 yards after contact. So that just shows you how much he was being contacted either at or behind the line of scrimmage, and how much his offensive line, specifically that second team unit, which has a lot of injuries on it, right? No Calvin Anderson, no Ryan McCollum, all right, like in the Steelers' depth as it was, isn't very good as it stands right now. So, you know, Kaleb was running behind a really bad backup offensive line, and he was being contacted behind the line of scrimmage quite a bit. And I really do think heading into next season, I think Caleb's biggest X factor heading into this season, I should say, is going to be the offensive line, all right? Because I think he showed on Saturday that he's not somebody that in the backfield is going to juke you out and make you miss and, you know, be a shifty type of running back. He's not somebody with great acceleration. He's not somebody that's got incredibly shifty feet like, say, a Jaylen Warren does. So he needs an offensive line that's going to be able to create run lanes for him, to win the line of scrimmage and limit the amount of times he gets contacted either at or behind the line of scrimmage. And, you know, I think that I could see 2 very different outcomes here for Kaleb Johnson in his rookie season. I think if the offensive line breaks out in this unit with Broderick Jones and Troy Fautano and Zach Frazier and Isaac Seumalo and Mason McCormick, if this group kind of gels and they play really well this year, Kaleb Johnson could be a top rookie running back this year, because once he gets to that second level and he can use that vision and his patience to kind of build up that speed when you're doing wide zone and you're doing outside zone, the stuff that Arthur Smith loves running, by the way, like Kaleb Johnson can be absolutely an explosive running back for this offense and be one of the most productive rookie running backs in the league. But if the offensive line disappoints and, you know, they're constantly allowing defenders in the backfield and they're not getting a lot of push at the line of scrimmage, then Kaleb might not even be able to take the number 1 running back job by the end of the season. And we might be talking about Jaylen Warren as this team's number 1 running back throughout the entire season if this offensive line can't get it figured out. But the good news on that, guys, is that the starting offensive line on Saturday looked really good versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, there was only 2 rushing snaps, but I thought Kaleb and the offensive line looked pretty decent on those 2 snaps. And then something that was really encouraging, specifically about the 2 former first-round picks, Broderick Jones and Troy Fautano, is that on their 24 combined snaps on offense in that football game, they allowed 0 pressures on the quarterback. So they were doing their job as offensive tackles, and hopefully they can continue to do that heading into the regular season this year. And by the way, Jones and Fautano did this against the first-team Jaguars defensive line with Josh Hines-Allen, a legit number 1 edge rusher, playing against them, like Trayvon Walker, a former number 1 overall pick. They were able to shut down those guys on the first 2 drives of the game, which certainly points this offensive line in a good direction heading into the 2025 season. So let me know down there in the comments section, who will be the leading rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season? Type KJ if you still think it's Kaleb Johnson, or if you think Jaylen Warren is going to get the most rushing yards this year for this team, type JDub down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, guys, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know who you think RB1 in Pittsburgh is going to be here in 2025. So head coach Mike Tomlin made his yearly appearance at this point on the Pivot podcast. Of course, him and Ryan Clark, one of the hosts of the Pivot podcast, is extremely close. And he, at this point, it's pretty much a yearly thing where he goes on this podcast in Latrobe. He did it last year. He did it again this year. And Ryan Clark asked him how he deals with the critics that say that the Steelers should be moving on from Mike Tomlin, that he should be fired. And this was his response. I thought it was a really good response. He says, "We got resumes. We all do. And we got to stand on that. I live a life where I don't seek comfort. I don't make excuses. Engaging in that discussion, to me, is excuses. I don't live that life, man. I pour everything I got into what I do, man." There's a lot of mans in here, by the way. It's Mike Tomlin, okay? "And when the dust settles, it settles, and I keep it moving. You know, I don't care a whole lot about what people have to say. Respectfully, I don't. Some people talk, some people watch, some people do. I am glad I am a doer. I am glad that I live in that world. I love the kitchen. I love competition. I love it when it gets hot. I love the challenges that our business presents. That is just the life I choose to live, and the things that come with it, man, I am okay with it." And honestly, guys, I thought this was the perfect response from Coach T here, because he's not somebody that's interested in making excuses for his past failures to get these playoff wins. And he is somebody that's absolutely, very aware that he needs to deliver for this fan base. He will say it time and time and time again. His job is to deliver for this incredible fan base. And, he will not engage in these discussions, like he says, because he doesn't want to make excuses, and he knows he has to get the job done. So if there's anybody out there that understands Mike Tomlin needs to start winning playoff games, it's Mike Tomlin himself, which is why he made he's made the push to go get Aaron Rodgers and get Jalen Ramsey and get DK Metcalf to hopefully get this team past that kind of monkey that's been on this team's back for multiple years at this point, and win a playoff game, and hopefully more than that this season. And then he also said, when it came to the Rodgers saga and how they were comfortable waiting for Aaron Rodgers, he disclosed to Ryan Clark and his other guests and his other hosts, I should say, is that he knew something, and he definitely knew that Aaron Rodgers was going to be coming in. And that was the reason why the Steelers did not draft a quarterback in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft this year, because they knew Rodgers was coming before he officially signed a contract, which is something that we talked about on this channel, that Mike Tomlin had to know if they're not going to take a quarterback early. And of course, he's here, and honestly, he played very well at practice today, and that's what we're going to be talking about next here on Steelers Talk. We've got my Steelers Monday practice report from Latrobe. I'm going to let you guys know everything worth noting of there in Latrobe this afternoon at Steelers training camp practice. But before we get into all those discussions here, I want to give you guys a great opportunity to get an Aaron Rodgers jersey of your own. You can go chatsports.com/AR8 to get a great price on this Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey. And it doesn't have to just be black, guys. It could be, the alternates, I believe, are up there as well. You got the white aways as well. So whatever color jersey that you want, we have it at our link, chatsports.com/AR8. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support, and get your jersey today. So now let's get into the practice report here surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers practice on Monday. Now, unfortunately, Darius Slay's practice got cut short today, had to leave with a lower right leg injury. He rolled up on his ankle, and it was a little bit of a scary scene, seeing the trainer kind of work on him early on in practice, especially for an older corner like Slay. But the good news is it doesn't seem to be too serious, and Mike Tomlin expects him to be back on the practice field pretty soon here. Nick Farabaugh from Penn Live had the update today right after practice, saying Mike Tomlin says Darius Slay rolled his ankle, but he's okay. He'll be back on the field ASAP, Tomlin added. So that's really good to see, but then there is also a number of other Steelers players that were not participating in the team drills. Calvin Austin III missed his 4th straight practice with an apparently minor injury. Alex Highsmith still nursing that groin injury. He was out. Ryan McCollum still out after missing the preseason game. Isaac Seumalo, I'm pretty sure, had a vet day today. Cam Heyward still working on his contract dispute. Cory Trice Jr., J.J. Galbraith, Jonnu Smith, Will Howard, of course, still dealing with that thumb injury. And then Jalen Ramsey was a limited participant today. Went through walkthroughs, but didn't participate in individual drills or team drills. I'm guessing he's going through something pretty minor right now. But, there's been some speculation that's been swirling around here surrounding wide receiver Calvin Austin III because of all these contract disputes that we have seen with Cam Heyward and Chris Boswell, and then the fact that Austin's injury was designated as a quote-unquote minor injury, and now he's missed a full week's worth of practices. Some people are wondering, is there something more to this than just a minor injury and the team being cautious? And some people think it could be that Calvin Austin III, who is entering a contract year, is looking for a contract extension from the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's people that have been on the ground there in Latrobe that are shooting this down, like Steelers DB, Derek Brown there on Twitter. Great follow, by the way, if you guys want to give him a follow. Says, I've seen this theory floated around a couple of times now, but Calvin Austin's absence is not contract-related, guys. He's hurt. So I do think that, the Steelers have been abundantly cautious with their veterans in the past. Just look at how they addressed the Russell Wilson calf issue last year. They're being extremely cautious with guys like Jalen Ramsey right now, who appears to be dealing with a minor injury. But I don't think Pittsburgh wants to extend Calvin Austin, guys. I'm not sure if they really see him as the long-term number 2 receiver in this offense because he can't run block. And, the ideal number 2 receiver in this offense run blocks, all right? You ask Arthur Smith what he wants. He wants everybody outside of the quarterback to be able to block, and Calvin can't do that. So that kind of limits his role in this offense as kind of like a dynamic receiving threat on passing downs. So I don't think the Steelers would want to offer him anything on an extension more than wide receiver 3 type money, and I don't think that's the money that Calvin's interested in. So I wouldn't be shocked at this point, guys, if Pittsburgh gets aggressive and maybe tries to trade for a receiver if somebody becomes available and, they want Calvin Austin III in return. It wouldn't shock me at all if they include Calvin and a mid-round pick next year so that they can get a more ideal number 2 receiver for this team. But I can also say it wouldn't shock me at all if Pittsburgh gives him a slight pay raise, a slight pay bump for this year to keep him here this season without giving him extra years on his contract. But I could also see, guys, that this is just an injury and there's no contract dispute and it's just speculation and people are going crazy, including myself right now, kind of speculating what's going on right here, and they're just being cautious with a receiver here that, they have big plans for this season. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Should the Steelers extend Calvin Austin III? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. My personal opinion heading into the year is no. My advice to Calvin would be to play on the final year of his contract and earn a larger contract because I actually think he's good enough to make a pretty decent contract next offseason from some NFL team. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Should the Steelers get ahead of a Calvin Austin III breakout season by giving him an extension? And then we get to the practice itself, the 7 shots breakdown. The defense got back in the win column today with a 5-2 win. The offense got going with a twisting touchdown catch from DK Metcalf is the way that it was described in the air. DK with a really impressive touchdown. But then TJ Watt had a PBU during the team period there. Then Isaiah Loudermilk tipped it up into the air, right into the waiting arms of Daniel Ekuale for an interception. Then you got Mason Rudolph throwing a touchdown on a slant to Scotty Miller, and then Rudolph threw to Miller again, but it was incomplete. Miller couldn't get his second foot down in the back of the end zone. Cole Holcomb had a PBU on Skylar Thompson, and then Jack Sawyer, the rookie out of Ohio State, got a pressure and forced a throwaway from Skylar Thompson on the final rep. Defense won the day 5-2, and heading into the final practice in Latrobe this year, the defense now wins the 7 shots battle 6-5. The offense will look to tie it up to finish out their time at St. Vincent College tomorrow afternoon. So now let's get into my takeaways on offense, and it definitely seems like, the offensive install for the Steelers from offensive coordinator Arthur Smith has gone in kind of waves here. The first week, you could definitely tell, there's a lot of underneath stuff, quick game, get the ball out fast type of stuff. Then you saw some more intermediate stuff over the last 2 weeks, and now today, they were bombing it down the field. There was no pads today, so it was a lot of 7-on-7 work, some 11-on-11 work, but they were throwing it down the field all day long. And something that I can really say was a good thing at today's practice was that Aaron Rodgers, QB1 of the Pittsburgh Steelers, was connecting deep with his guys. DK Metcalf, apparently it was a really good day for Rodgers and DK again. He connected with Roman Wilson on a fade route as well. That is going viral on Steelers Twitter right now. So to see Rodgers, who at this point in camp, I would say the one thing heading into this week that I wanted to see more consistency with was hitting his guys deep down the field, all right? There was still some accuracy woes when throwing 20-plus air yards down the field. Today, that wasn't an issue. Aaron Rodgers was dealing to all levels of the field, which you love to see. And then also the backup quarterback, Mason Rudolph, stayed hot as well. He hit Roman Wilson for a nice one today. I think he hit Pat Freiermuth on a seam shot for like a 50-yard touchdown today. Rudolph has been very, very solid all throughout camp. He knows where to go with the football. He's pretty darn accurate with the ball as well. He's got a great deep ball. Like, to have him as your backup quarterback, the Steelers got to feel very lucky to have him back in the black and gold, backing up Aaron Rodgers this year. So before we get into my defensive takeaways here, guys, click that thumbs up icon if you want to support the show today. It really does help us out. It tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Steelers fans like yourselves. So it really does help us out and helps us grow this channel. So if you want to click that thumbs up icon, it's free to do so. It takes a half second of your time. We would greatly appreciate it if you want to help us out today. Moving on to the defensive takeaways here. Joey Porter Jr. back in full practice action today, and he continued right where he left off, man. Super clean and strong camp for him. He locked down DK Metcalf on a deep route today from Rodgers, and he's just been overall very, very good in coverage all throughout camp. But what's different with Joey Porter Jr. this year is not only is he still one of the best press jam corners in the National Football League, but now down the field, he's not grabbing guys nearly as much as he has been in years past. Whatever work he put in during the offseason and with the Steelers with Gerald Alexander, the new DB coach, it's working because this kid's looking like a legit number one shutdown corner on the outside right now. Then Brandon Echols, somebody that was a standout in the preseason game on Saturday, showed off his versatility today because he played in the slot. Now, this might be a little bit of an indictment on Beanie Bishop Jr. because he started in the slot on Saturday. Honestly, didn't look great. Gave up a couple lost on a couple of reps, wasn't the best in terms of the tackling, and he wasn't in best position to make tackles throughout the night. So they put Brandon Echols in there with James Pierre and Joey Porter Jr. with Ramsey and Slay out for today's practice, and Echols looked pretty darn good in the slot. So having that outside-inside versatility is really nice for a guy like Echols, because if somebody goes down on this Steelers cornerback room, God forbid, the Steelers fans can rest easy knowing that a good corner like Echols is going to be waiting in the wings. Then I thought it was a good day for Patrick Queen. Queenie, of course, started off training camp with that interception of Aaron Rodgers, but he's been relatively quiet since then. Now, obviously, linebackers aren't going to get into the thick of things all that much, but he had a PBU during team periods today. He had a sack today. He got more involved today, and he's had a lot of vet days off as well. So we just haven't seen a whole lot of Patrick Queen in some of the previous practices, but to see him out there flying around doing Patrick Queen things was good to see at today's practice. So where are you guys at? Let me know down there in the comments section. What is your confidence level in Pittsburgh's offense at this point in time? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being they're going to suck, they're going to be terrible, it's going to be more of the same here in Pittsburgh this year, to 10 meaning this is going to be a top 10 offense this year. I'm super excited. All right, that's going to be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. I got more coverage for you guys tomorrow. And until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.